Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Dominic D'Angelo of adfreeshows.com, SEScoops.com, and brassringmedia.com. Well, not .com, but Brassring Media. Hey, we're here today. It is a Thursday. Robert Karpelis should be here shortly. We will be discussing AEW Dynamite and all the ongoings of that. Plus, I have a couple other little news tidbits, one pertaining to Will Ospreay, another pertaining to Logan Paul. Let's say hi to some folks in the chat here. Triple E says, "What's up?" And Dre Owens is back for the live R&I. Good to have you back. Triple E, good to see you as well. Guys, feel free to chime on in the chat if we are live, as we are every Monday through Friday here on Rumor and Innuendo, to talk some Rumor and Innuendo. But let's get to the business of living here. Anybody ever see the movie Let's Go to Prison? My goodness. One of the most underrated comedies of all time. Will Arnett, Dax Shepard, Chie McBride, Bob Odenkirk, Michael Shannon, also in this movie. Let's Go to Prison. If you've never seen that movie, go out of your way and watch it. So funny. One of my favorite comedies of all time. Wrestling Old Head says, "What's up, Dom?" in chat. Happy Thursday. Dre Owen says, Thekla coming in for AEW. Okay. As you can tell by the way I pronounce that, I have no idea who Thekla is. Zero clue. I did see the report from Fightful that this international star is heading to AEW. I will reserve judgment when they debut and things like that. There's some things to talk about here with AEW Dynamite. I really liked the show. I did. The atmosphere of the Masonic Temple in Detroit, Michigan was really, really cool, I thought. And the crowd was into the show, and for good reasons, I thought as well. We kick it off with Hangman Page coming out. He reminds me of somebody with this look, this mustache, and the shorter yet long hair. I can't pinpoint who he reminds me of. Anywho, comes in there pretty contrite, saying like, "Man, I don't deserve the kind of adulation that you fans are giving me after all I've done, but I appreciate it." Thought that was really cool and really well said. Out comes Will Ospreay, and they have a little bit. Will Ospreay offers a hand of respect, metaphorically speaking, and then goes at Hangman Page, saying, "I am coming for you. I am on the ascension. You are on your redemption." And I like that line. Will Ospreay is very good on the microphone. And then out comes the Don Callis family to spoil the party a little bit, and sets up a match for next week, which ends up ultimately going to be Takeshita and Josh Alexander teaming up to take on Ospreay and Hangman, as they tease tension between Hangman and Ospreay, rightfully so, considering what they're doing at Double or Nothing. So but I like this opening segment. Little long. Thought it was a little long. Thought the discourse between these two was a little long in the tooth, if you will. But let's see what Robert has to say. Robert, hey.
Hey, it's a run-in. It's a run-in. I'm here. Who said I wasn't coming?
Nobody said you weren't coming. I said you were.
And speaking of, no, sorry.
Oh, hey, not yet.
We're too early in. We're too early in. We just settled it.
We did. Robert, I discussed a little bit of the opening segment already with Dynamite, Hangman, and Will Ospreay. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, I'm so excited.
Are you? Okay.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. I already missed. That's the whole reason I shut up late, guys.
The wheel is in motion. Also, did you see that they have Sum 41 for their new theme?
Way to get slightly more to the current century.
They're like still maybe a decade and a half behind, but
it's like Vince thing. Like Vince was always, we have to get Nickelback or Creed. It's so bizarre. Look, we had Peter Gabriel's Big Time was one of our themes, so you never know what it is. Anyway, opening segment.
Yes.
I thought set the table nicely. The notion that Hangman is trying to reconcile his storyline and make it make sense as the shiny, happy baby face who, has basically murdered people in the past.
Yes.
And then Ospreay coming out and this idea of like, bruv, like I don't care. It felt like a heel promo from Ospreay.
little bit,
You know,
yeah.
I'm the one that does the media appearances. I'm the one that goes and meets all these mutants and takes pictures with all these ugly kids. And now you want to show up. It's like, no, this is the kind of like promo you cut when you turn on the audience.
Mhm.
And I'll be honest, there was a small part of me that started to think maybe they're going to turn Hangman.
You mean turn Osprey
No, I mean turn Hangman.
like heel or
Like
like
that the idea is that he's now at this point of catharsis that, he's got to reconcile and he's got to win the title and he's got to, do whatever it is to win it. But if you were to put Hangman back with the Elite, pretty compelling package.
really?
Yeah. Because if the problem is if you here's the challenge. Here's the issue, here's the thing.
Okay.
You're going to do Osprey and Hangman at Double or Nothing.
Mhm.
We know either one could win to go face John Moxley,
Sure.
in theory. The guy who needs to win for the sake of the company is Will Ospreay.
Mhm.
Ospreay is absolutely far and away their A1 future star. He is the guy that you put the company on his back, you let him run with it. Hangman losing to Ospreay, it's like, where does he go from there?
Mhm.
Heel Hangman feuding with babyface Swerve with the power of the Elite behind him gives that group purpose and meaning. And then you can get to an Osprey Hangman match where it is heel Hangman versus babyface Osprey.
Okay, I see that. I do think this aspect of heel Hangman and babyface Swerve is kind of has run its course though in a lot of ways, you
Yeah, but
know?
we really haven't gotten the full weight and breadth of it. Like, you All In is coming up. We need matches for All In.
Sure.
You need something compelling and exciting. I know the alternative is Swerve and Hangman unite to take on the Bucks,
Right.
which is okay at best. I just think, you need something a little shocking, a little different. Once Moxley is toppled, who is the number one heel in AEW?
I mean, MJF, I think you can always kind of heat to that level, right?
Eventually you probably could, but he's kind of off in the wilderness right now.
Mhm. I don't know, Robert. I don't feel the same way, I don't think, when it comes to that. I just I think we're so in this ecoscape of Hangman, Elite, Swerve, everything like that. That's kind of always swirling around here recently. I just don't think that's a new route for them to take that makes it feel fresh. I think it still makes the product feel a little bit stale, for lack
It's
of
not
a
a
better
question of fresh. The problem is, in Tony Khan world, he lacks focus
sure.
to a significant extent. And if you take away distractions, he has no choice but to focus. So if you say Osprey is our A1 babyface,
Hmm.
there's no one, then you're forced to, he is your Hogan, he is your Austin, he is your Cena going up against heels.
Right.
If you have Osprey and you have Hangman and you have Swerve all kind of floating around, and you have, Joe to an extent, since Joe has taken off of late, who are all floating around as sort of your top baby face, Tony's not going to be able to truly focus and give these people stories and ideas and things that they need. If you have A1 babyface, A1 heel, and they're feuding, that becomes compelling and interesting, and it keeps Hangman at the top of the card.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that too.
Because if you put the world title on Hangman, if
Hmm.
Hangman wins and he wins it at All In, then it's like, well, then what are we doing with Osprey? We're doing another 5 6 months of 8-man tags for $330,000 and a hand job out back.
Well, so I don't think Hangman should win the title at all. Don't get me
But
wrong.
that's the story. That's the trajectory of the story. This man who has gone through hell for the last year, he has now come out the other side. He has realized the error of his ways. And now he is a changed man, and he is going to win the title, and he is going to retake the mantle as the face of AEW. When he fails at this pay per view, where does he go from there? And if the answer is him and Swerve unite to go take on the Elite, that gets you All In, and then All In is over, and then it's like, and then what am I doing with Hangman? He's not going to be able to go after Osprey for a rematch.
Hmm.
So you're kind of you're kind of in a bad place. If Hangman was the A1 heel and he was the face of the Elite, we know the Bucks have their ego.
Right.
You've got them. You've got Okada, who doesn't seem to have any interest in being the A1 star of the company.
Hmm.
So if you had a Hangman back with the Bucks, back with Okada, no Death Riders anymore floating around out there. Don Callis family focused on being mid card heel factory. Let them reestablish Kyle Fletcher at some point down the road. You can do Hangman and Kenny Omega. You can do Hangman and Swerve. And you can get to a Hangman Osprey rematch that feels like it's the fate of the company again.
I'm going to take a step back and look at the big overall scheme of AEW. This is what I was thinking when I was watching Dynamite. I thought before you got on, I said that I thought Dynamite was a good show overall.
Dynamite
Right?
was a great show last night.
Yeah.
Dynamite surprised the hell out of me from top to bottom. Everything seemed to make sense. Everything seemed to be moving forward. And that's what opened up this stupid portal in my brain right now of thinking, oh, maybe there's some long-term storytelling. Like Wrestling Old Head has a comment of,
Mhm.
I wonder if TK is thinking this far in advance. They have the best roster top to bottom in all of wrestling. I
Sure.
really think that, and it's I think in part because Raw and SmackDown is split into two different rosters, and TNA has a lot of great talent. They're just kind of floating around out there.
Hmm.
It's like you look at, if you whittle away to just the core of what AEW has, you could build an unstoppable company that could genuinely be a global powerhouse. The
Here's
problem
what
is they get all, yeah.
this is my thought, and this is what I was thinking when I was watching Dynamite. They do not, and obviously we've talked about this for a lot, but they do not pack as much of the punch as they used to because they don't have Cody anymore. They don't have CM Punk anymore. They don't have the Brian Danielson anymore. They need a new star, and I think a lot of these talents and how Tony's positioned them, even a Will Ospreay, even a Swerve Strickland, it feels like there's almost a ceiling on this and that they need a new star to really try to carry this and bring them back to like potentially to a bigger stage that they were. And I don't know if they can ever get back there, honestly, Robert, but
No,
to,
I think that they can on, and I genuinely am this bullish about Will Ospreay. I didn't get it for a little while back when he was, because he used to be smaller, somewhat scrawnier,
sure.
and I'm just like, I don't see that guy being the guy. Like he's bulked himself up. He's great in the ring still. He's evolved as a wrestler. He's a strong promo, and he's a guy who feels like I am your A1 babyface,
Hmm.
and he can make a connection to that crowd unlike almost anybody that they have. So the fact that you could do Osprey versus MJF,
Hmm.
that's a compelling, interesting match. You can do Osprey and Hangman, it's a compelling, interesting match. You could do Osprey and Bobby Lashley,
Sure. Yeah.
and that's an interesting dynamic. Kyle Fletcher showed a lot last week as a guy who's developed and improved over time.
Hmm.
You still have Osprey and Omega that you can get to. You still have Osprey and Okada that you can get to, as long as those matches make sense. That's the key. That's the thing. You can't just put it on television and say, here it is. They have a lot of guys who Konosuke Takeshita is a guy that if they really focused on and pointed him in the right direction, that guy's a global star for them. Will Hobbs is a guy, if they really take the time, he's a huge star. We thought Wardlow was a
Right.
slam dunk. There's no way you can blow this kind of person. It kind of happened. Like they didn't follow through with him. They focus a lot on talent that they don't need to focus on for the sake of, well, we have to be nice to everybody.
Hmm.
But as a moment of praise, what Christian is doing right now with Nick Wayne,
Hmm.
This is why you bring in veteran talent, Chris Jericho. This is why you utilize those stars of the past in a strategic manner. That's what Adam Copeland wanted to do. They put him in there for the world title.
Right.
They're very fortunate on their women's side that they really have lightning in the bottle with Tony Storm.
Let's not forget to Willow Nightingale. I thought was awesome.
Willow is someone who I've been for a long time. And again, this show has gone off the rails, and I'm sorry.
It has, but
This was just fine.
yeah, there's a lot to talk
Scott
about.
Chapman and I are going to go through work. Like I'm working stuff. We'll go through segment by segment with Dynamite. You'll be able to hear it. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you guys are dying to know what we thought of that Jamie Hayter sit down interview, where it clearly went from a pre-tape to live.
Yeah.
Brilliant. But Willow Nightingale and Mark Briscoe are two halves of what I'll call the Mick Foley coin.
Yeah.
They're homegrown, organic in the sense that they feel like there's a groundswell around them. They're people you genuinely want to root for and you genuinely want to embrace. I think Willow Nightingale is absolutely a huge star for them in the future. She's someone that the audience is always going to pop for, always going to like. Chris Statlander is someone who we saw great matches come out of her with Mercedes, and they always kind of start and stop.
Mm-hmm.
At one point she was an alien. The Megan Bain is absolutely the Brock Lesnar of that women's division, and she's really incredible. I think the world of Harley Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually flying her down here for a Broke Return Championship Wrestling show next weekend.
Wow.
I think it's next week. It's in 2 weekend. Stand by. Next Saturday, the 17th. They were like, "Who should we bring?" And I'm like, Harley Cameron is great. She's improved in the ring. She's a fantastic character. She's somebody that's interesting and engaging to watch. When I say they have the pieces, like the pieces are there. They just need to have tight, well laid out shows. Last night's show was a tight, well laid out show. Yes, the main event storyline with Samoa Joe going for the world title is sort of a lesser than story, but it's kind of what we saw with Jey Uso and Gunther.
Yeah. I want to go back real quick and mention Hobbs again, because you said his name, and Robert,
he appears.
And he appears, but I legitimately watching the show, I'm like, who is a star that they could really try to really put their strap a rocket to? And out came Hobbs to save Samoa Joe. And I was like, that's the guy. That is him, because we don't hear him talk at all. He's got a presence. We know he can talk. He's got the backing of somebody like an Arn Anderson. I just think that is somebody that AEW should put their chips behind big time.
They've done it a couple times, though. That's the problem. There's a little bit of a stink on Hobbs because they did the book of Hobbs. They did the personal videos about like where he came from and his upbringing. They put him as a member of Team Taz. He was big showed where he was babyface, then he was heel, then he was babyface, then he was heel. Then he was suddenly the number one contender for the world title.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like Ron Simmons going up against Vader, and we're trying to make a cultural statement. And then that kind of just didn't go anywhere. And him with Joe, with Hook, with Shibata, maybe they'll get a shot. I think Swerve is a guy that can absolutely continue to build around. And then they kind of just had him lose.
Yeah, and that's been the issue ongoing with it. But I think, if they put a concerted effort into really positioning Hobbs in the right position and giving him promo time to speak and things like that, and showing more of who he is and giving that attitude and stuff like that, he's got that big presence that AEW necessarily doesn't really showcase in a lot of ways. And I think they should really try to embrace that a little bit more.
What I find so amazing is, and I keep making this joke, and then they keep making the joke a reality. Kevin Knight, the Jet.
Yes.
I keep saying it's like you're playing a video game and he's a creator wrestler because nothing about his story seems organic and real. And then they continue to do it on last night's Dynamite. It's like, oh, Kevin Knight's taking on Okada. But before the match, he gets attacked by, let's hit the randomizer button, Roosh, because they had a match on Collision. And then he still overcomes the Roosh attack to have a competitive match with Okada. I'm all for pushing a new talent, and Kevin Knight definitely seems like a dude who's interesting and engaging.
Yeah.
But there's too many guys who are new and interesting and engaging, and I can't keep track. It's like the Don Callis family came out, and you're like, oh yeah, Josh Alexander's in that. Oh yeah, Rapungi Vice
Yeah, Trent Rudd
is
is
in
there.
that.
Yeah.
Trent's part of Rapungi Vice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Mark Davis, who was supposed to be conflicted and not want to be a part of the group, is now just part of the group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Wrestling Old Head, comment of the day. Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight give off Owen Hart Coco Beware vibes with their attire. Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
Could not agree more. Um, there was a moment last evening.
Mm-hmm.
I like Mike Mansouri. We go back a ways where I would dare say we're friendly.
Yes.
Um, he needed to do a better job of blocking during the FTR Shivani confrontation. The gentleman of FTR bullying Tony Schiavone, and Tony Schiavone stood up
Yes.
and he towered over Dax. Where I was genuinely worried for Dax's safety. That I'm like, oh no, that big man with the earring and the rumpled suit and the ability to make a hell of a frappuccino is going to beat the ever living crap out of FTR. I don't know, given that we're getting Gunther and Pat McAfee, that now is the time to pull the trigger on announcers versus talent. I know they're
Ooh.
setting up a Nigel McGuinness match, but Shivani sure as hell looked intimidating, and he
Yeah.
did not back down.
Mm-mm.
Also, wasn't Excalibur a wrestler?
I think. Was
It
he?
was a rhetorical question. Excalibur was a wrestler.
Okay.
He's not just a dude who talks very, very quickly. And may or may not just be Michael Dawkins in a mask. By the way, nice shout out to gimmick attorney Michael Dawkins during Dynamite. That was a
Oh,
lot of fun.
how about that? Um, geez, what was I gonna say that I can't remember? But dang it. Yeah.
Oh, how they haven't had Harley Cameron on
Mhm.
camera say that she's going to be laying pipe.
Oh, right.
They have her come out with the big thing, like it's literally right there.
It is.
And it's so unbelievably obvious that
Mhm.
you have her with the pipe and she makes all those innuendos that you just assume that they're immediately going to pivot to something inappropriate and sexual.
Right.
And guys,
Yes.
what's next on the show, Dom? Oh wait, sorry, no, wait, no, the laying pipe. I was joking.
Oh.
Speaking of laying pipe, let's talk about our friends at Blue Chew. You can have better sex with Blue Chew. Whether or not it's with Harley Cameron, but let's be honest, it's probably not going to be with Harley Cameron. But Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets. These erection enhancing tablets help men achieve stronger, harder, and longer lasting erections for sexual activity. Blue Chew is putting its money where its mouth is and offering you a month free. Process is simple. Sign up at bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped directly to your door. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. The best part, it's all done online. No visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Make life easier by getting harder and discover your options at bluechew.com. We've got a special deal for our listeners. Try your first month of Blue Chew free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this episode of Rumor and Innuendo.
Robert, we mentioned MJF,
We
and they
did?
had. Yeah, we did mention MJF briefly, but he did hurt people in front of the Hurt Syndicate. That was Dante Martin and Darius Martin. Top flight, both of them. What did you think of this? We got to wait another week for the decision, though.
Max was looking pretty swole in that
Yes. Yeah.
that tank top there with the taped up fists. When Top Flight came out, I was like, oh, I guess you could feed Top Flight to Hurt Business or Hurt Syndicate. I didn't realize they were going to feed them to MJF, which is
Yeah.
fine. And this storyline may actually finally, possibly, who knows, eventually pay off.
I'm entertained by it just because I like the Hurt Syndicate and I like MJF. So but it is. I'm like, all right, we got to get an answer here. Let's get an answer.
Well, we're going to get an answer next week. And they did a nice job of building next week's show. It's the world title match. It's the answer for MJF in the Hurt Syndicate. And then some form of the tag match.
Hangman and Osprey teaming up against Takeshita and Josh Alexander.
Well, there we go.
There we go. There we go. Any other big takeaways from Dynamite that really stand out to you that you think we need to talk about?
I think we inadvertently, indirectly covered everything. Rhino. Glad to see Rhino on TV.
That was cool.
Yeah, I said the Nick Wayne of it all, they did a really nice job. The idea of someone from the past, doesn't matter that it's the past from another company, but it was for two other companies.
Yes, several companies.
Well, Rhino, Edge, and Christian were Team Wreck, which was a lot of fun. And then obviously Rhino and Christian's epic feuds in TNA. I'm assuming they wrestled at some point when they were in TNA. And here.
Yeah.
Wrestling Old had with an interesting suggestion that said they should get Joey Styles for the 2300 residency. He could provide a serious vibe that the show really needs.
Yeah.
I feel like Joey, I know he got in trouble for something. I just can't remember exactly what it was. It was something on commentary. He said something problematic.
Oh, was this while he was with WWE?
I want to say it was for Chikara. No, I think it was for Chikara, maybe.
Oh, I didn't even know he called Chikara. Interesting. Do a little Google.
Hold on. I'm doing the Google machine. Yeah, Chikara terminates his relationship with Joey Styles. He purposely disobeyed directions from the company owner.
Quackenbush?
During the 2016 King of the Trios, I don't know. He made a controversial joke, which got him fired. I don't know what the joke was. I don't know why he was fired. I don't know. Ron Ward says, I think he's a little too right wing.
That's a lot of people in wrestling.
Don't check who Michael Cole follows on Twitter. That's all I'm going to say.
He follows some Jets people because he's a Jets fan.
Well, it already shows that he's not doing a great job. With the JETS suck. What doesn't suck is getting to do this show every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern. Quick plug: I'll be recording Working Stiff with Scott Chaplin in about 30 minutes, Tom.
Ooh.
So that'll be to you this afternoon, and that'll be up later this afternoon, early this evening. You get to hear Scott and mine's take on all of Dynamite, our Backlash preview, and based on our text chain last evening, thoughts on Saturday Night Live for some reason.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Yeah, we went down a path. But Dom and I will be here tomorrow, as we are every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern, on a plethora of platforms, including the WWE Creative _ISH X account, the @Dominic D'Angelo X account, the @SE Scoops X account, and on YouTube, on Rumor and Innuendo, Working Stiff, and ad-free shows. Hell of a show here today. Apologize that I was just a few moments tardy. Appreciate that I didn't get dinged with a detention. So on behalf of the benevolent high school principal, Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpolis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
I feel like a PC principal.